Okay, so we are here today to discuss a little bit about introduction to adult resilience, specifically discuss Devro's Building Your Bows Promoting Adult Resilience workshop series. Our outline for today's webinar session begins with welcome and introductions. Then I will provide a brief overview of Devro's Advanced Behavioral Health and Center for Resilient Children, then an overview of Build Your Bounds series, followed by a pre-recorded webinar of simple strategies for resilient you, facilitated by Dr. Nefertiti Pointer, who is an early childhood education specialist and national trainer. Finally, we will provide a general timeline of the expected Build Your Bounds series and end with opportunity for question. Quick reminder, please turn off your cameras or microphones for bandwidth. Please introduce yourself in the chat if you would like. You can tell us a little about your name or your organization and program if you would like. I would like to take some time to talk a little bit about myself and introduce myself to all of you. So my name is Lourdes Johnson. I'm the High Quality Early Learning Program Manager here at Arizona Department of Education Early Childhood Education Team. So I'm Dominican vegan, which are two concepts that normally do not go together because Dominicans love their meat and their cheese. You can see some images that best describe me a little bit. I road tripped here all the way on the left with two dogs, one being motion sickness, the bigger one, and that was an experience for us all. I also am a big fan of traveling. My childhood memories consist of traveling from plane, train, cars, buses, all over the United States and the world. And as you can see, my two pups, the larger one, who is the motion sickness one, is Frankie, who's a Norwegian Elkhound, 2 years old. And the little one, Johnny, is a Shiba Inu, and he's 3 years old. And yes, they do have long names, but I won't bore you with that. I'm also a huge adrenaline junkie. So that picture you see up there in blue background is me riding a slingshot. I'm a roller coaster, fast cars kind of girl. I love hiking, walking trails, and being in nature. My favorite dessert would be anything s'mores, preferably campfire roasted s'mores are the best. Lastly, I'm currently planning a wedding this year, which has been quite full of a lot of emotions. So now we'll talk briefly about Devro's Advanced Behavioral Health and then Center for Resilient Children. So Devro Advanced Behavioral Health is one of the nation's largest nonprofit organizations providing services, insight, and leadership in the evolving field of behavioral healthcare. Founded in 1912 by special education pioneer Helena Devro, Devro operates a comprehensive national network of clinical, therapeutic, educational, and employment programs and services that positively impact the lives of tens of thousands of children, adults, and their families every year. Focus on clinical advances emerging from a new understanding of the brain, its unique approach combines evidence-based interventions with compassionate family engagement. Devro is a recognized partners for families, schools, and communities serving many of our country's most vulnerable population in the areas of autism, intellectual and developmental disabilities, specialty, mental health, education, and foster care. Their programs are offered in hospitals, residential, community, and school-based settings. Now we'll talk a little about the Devro Center for Resilient Children. So this Build Your Bounds Promoting Adult Resilience training was created by the Devro Center for Resilient Children, or the DCRC. As the name of this organization suggests, some of the things that Devro Center for Resilient Children does is offer research-informed resources and professional development experiences to support the healthy development of young children. Please take a moment to read their mission statement. I bet most of us sitting here today have been on so many trainings, workshops, and presentations on the importance of social emotional development in young children. I bet most of us agree that social and emotional health of the young child is critical to their success in school and in life. How many of us have spent time thinking about the adults who care for young children and their impact on children? What might that impact be if those adults, for example, are healthy, happy, and content in their role as caregivers? What might impact if the adults are, for example, the opposite of healthy, happy, and content? The health and well-being of adults is critically important to the health and well-being of the child. which means we need to focus time, effort, and energy on adults who care for children. For more information on the work for DeVrel Center Resilient, please, you may follow the link and we'll also have it at the end of this webinar. Also want everybody to know that resilience is a lifelong journey. So some of this content could cause feelings that are new and overwhelming. Please take care of your needs, be prepared, be open-minded, and be kind always. So we'll start to talk a little about your Build Your Bounds series. So why? So this workshop is designed to meet you where you are and help you focus on your own health, happiness, and overall well-being. Together, we will learn about resilience and how important it is that you learn to promote your social emotional health, how your social and emotional well-being can impact the children and families you serve in both positive and negative ways, and specific, simple, and inexpensive strategies to reduce the stress and promote your social emotional health. Any questions so far? So let me talk to you about the co-author and co-facilitator who also trained me to be able to train you all in this fantastic webinar series. So Dr. Nefertiti Pointer received her undergraduate degrees from Virginia State University, her graduate degree from Chestnut Hill College in Pennsylvania, and her doctoral educational degree from Walden University. Prior to joining the DeVrel Center for Resilient Children, Dr. Nefertiti worked as a preschool and kindergarten teacher in the city of Philadelphia. Nefertiti has also co-authored 2 resources you will see on this slide. Build Your Bounds Simple Strategies for Resilient Youth, which we'll watch a pre-recorded introduction about, and the award-winning Socially Strong, Emotionally Secure 50 Activities to Promote Resilience in Young Children. I own the Build Your Bounds Simple Strategies one. So now we will be watching a pre-recorded introduction webinar to Build Your Bounds Promoting Adult Resilience Workshop Series, which will kick off in July of 2023. And it is a 4-part series, which I will discuss in a little bit. The reason we are watching this pre-recorded webinar was because after discussion with Dr. Nefertiti, we concluded there's no substantial introduction webinar or PowerPoint slide or anything to sort of introduce this series. And for you to receive the best information, we agreed that this will be the best starting point. So I'm going to stop my slideshow for a second while I transition over. Everybody able to see my screen?
We can see it.
Awesome. Okay. Fantastic.
Jay.
Ooh. Can we mute? We have some background noise. Thank you.
I really want to unfold this word resilience. What does it mean to be resilient? What are the components of resilience? And Nefertiti, if I really want to be more resilient, where should I start? What can I do? Well, I'm happy that you're here, and I hope to share some things with you that are worthy of you telling somebody else. That would be good news for me, because one thing I've learned about life is that it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah. My mother brought me a plaque my first day in the classroom, and that's what it said. It takes a village to raise a child. But do you know what I've learned? I'm a mom of a 16-year-old and a 6-year-old at home now. And being a mom and reflecting on my teaching career, what I know for sure is that it takes a healthy village to raise a healthy child. We don't just want a village to raise our children. We want the village to be healthy. So will you please share that with someone today as you take it in for yourself? It takes a healthy village to raise healthy children. And so today, let's get safe and let's do it together and let's talk about healing. Just today. Just today. I sure wish I could see all your faces and get to know you a little bit, but I'm going to ask that we do it together via a poll. Rudy's going to put up a poll for me. Can you tell me how you're feeling today? That's really what I'd like to know. How are you doing today? Can you give me a great, a good, a okay, a not so good, and is it Friday yet? Go ahead and vote so I can see how you're feeling. Marie's going to give it a few more minutes, and then we'll see what everybody's thinking.
Okay, we have about 80% of the votes in, so I'm going to go ahead and end it, and we'll look at the results.
Okay, sounds good. Let me see. Okay, 24% of us are feeling great. About 38% of us are feeling good. 25% of us are okay. 5% of us felt safe enough to say, I'm not so good today. And about 8% of us are saying to ourselves, is it Friday yet? I appreciate that. And I want you to know all of your feelings are welcome here today. You don't have to pretend. If you're not okay, it's okay to say you're not okay. I am here in Elizabeth City today, April the 27th, where if you're watching the news, you understand a little bit of what's going on in my city and state. And so I guess I'm okay. I guess I'm okay. My husband is also a police officer by profession. So this resonates with me on many different levels. But if it weren't for what I know today, I probably wouldn't say I'm okay. I would be a different way. But I do ask for you to just keep us in your thoughts as we continue to battle what seems to be an epidemic at our country level. But that's not the nature of our webinar today. But all of your feelings are welcome here today. No pretenses, okay? Everybody just own it however you feel. What do you think about the way Dr. Paul says this? How you are is as important as what you do. I have to remind myself of that all the time. It's not about the webinar, Nefertiti. It's not about the paper that you're writing. It's not about it's not about any of that, as much as it is, how do you feel? How are you doing? And I'm asking you today to just take this in with me and just let it continue to, I'll say marinate, for lack of a better way to say it. Let it just be something you continue to reflect on until we can see each other again. All right? A few key points that I want to just put out there today, and then I want to, again, start winding us down. When you think about the nature of our conversation today, one of the places that's always good to start is an examination of this scale. This scale is called the resilience model. You will see some other models out there to demonstrate resilience, but this is the one that makes the most sense to me. Can you do this with me? Can you put your hands out? Can we readily acknowledge today that everybody on this webinar has had or is currently dealing with some risk factors? Can we do that? Can we say that? And can we be totally honest and say sometimes, even without us fully being aware, that risk factor side starts to get very heavy? You have environmental risk factors. You have family risk factors. You have things within you that you've been dealing with for a long time. What I'm asking you today is to think about those things as your life's risk factors. If you're going to build your bounce, you have to be cognizant of what's weighing you down, what's pushing you down. And if you look at the scale with me, we see that if we have too many risk factors, we start to find ourselves in a place of negativity and vulnerability. Now, I know you didn't join me at 1 o'clock East Coast time to hear about all of that, right? There's enough of that going on. So Nefertiti, what am I supposed to do if I know I've got a lot of risk factors? Well, do your best to work on the weight over there. You know, I'm doing my Weight Watchers journey. So when anybody uses the word weight, I get scared. Don't talk about weight. Today was my weigh-in day, and daggone it, the thing didn't say what I wanted it to say. But when you look at this scale, you're asking yourself, where is my weight? Now, you might have some risk factors. but do you also have some protective factors? Can you lean to the other side with me? Protective factors in the environment, protective factors in your family, protective factors within you. If you can lean on, if you can get the weight on that side, what you will find is you'll find yourself walking in a place of positivity and resilience. But Nefertiti, what if my risk factors are very heavy? Well, that might be why you're here today, because you no longer want to carry that weight around. And today is the day you can start to do something about it. Not because of everything you'll learn here today, but just an awareness. Something has been piercing at you. You know there's some things you need to work on environmentally, within your family, even within you. Maybe that's why you're here today. I'm going to always ask you when we think about building your bounce, where is your weight? Where is your weight? Now, just so that we can all be clear, risk factors are those things that get in the way of us living our best lives, right? Can you look at this definition offered by Denhart? See what word you think fills in that blank. You've been listening to me for a few minutes. Come talk to me now in the chat box. What word do you think goes in that blank? Chat it in the chat box for me. Thank you, Whitney. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Christy. Thank you to all team members who are leaning in with me and offering a word. Because I can't be with you all day this afternoon, I will say to you that the word is difficulty. A lot of you said that. Your negative influences, your situations, your characteristics, they contribute to the probability that an individual will have difficulty. It doesn't say this will be the end of his or her life. It just says there'll be some level of difficulty. But team members, until I can meet you again, with everything that's on my heart right now, both personally and professionally, I'm also going to ask you, what are your protective factors? Where are your protective factors? Can we go back to Denhart and Denhart? Come to the chat box and tell me what word you think fills in this blank. Chat it in the chat box for me. Ooh, I love your choices. All right. Good. Look at this. Look at what the researchers chose. Now, just look at this with me. And again, I hope that we start a conversation that you just can't get enough of, so you will keep looking at the literature around resilience. Our protective factors are resources, processes, characteristics that help an individual buffer your risk and build resilience. Do you see what caption I have there in the picture? Did you wonder why I have an umbrella and rain? Look at this with me. When I think about risk factors, I think about life's rain. You ever been going through life and things are going just okay? Actually, they're doing fine. Everything is fine. Your children are fine. You feel fine. Your spouse is good. Everything's doing fine. But then out of nowhere comes some rain. Divorce. The children start acting up in a different way. You have you got unemployment now, and illness hits the family. This doggone thing called COVID. All of those things can feel like risk factors. Until I can see you again, I want to say to you, it's okay. The rain might need to happen in your life. Let it rain. Let it rain. But I'm going to ask you, don't let it rain on you without your protective factors. Does that make sense? Don't worry about the rain. We need the rain. The rain has come to teach us something, to help us do something differently. We need the rain. But don't go through life's storms without your umbrella. Now, to that person who I'm freaking out because I have an umbrella up, don't you worry about me. I'm not superstitious, so I'm okay. But I am hoping to give you an example until I can see you again. Don't you let it rain on you without your protective factors. Don't let it rain on you. Now, what we know from the definition, the protective factors aren't going to stop the rain. Your protective factors are not going to stop the fact that you and your spouse are no longer good together. You're just no longer good together. Now that's where we are. But if you can lean on your protective factors, this situation will be okay. You're going to have some days where you cry, scream, use some yucky words, but lean on your protective factors. I don't care what the situation is, big or small, lean on your protective factors. That's how you get to a place of resilience. Don't let it rain on you without grabbing your protective factors. That's the key to resilience. Are you listening? Does it make sense? Any questions or concerns? Please chat them with me and I'll be able to take a peek in just a second. This is the piece that I think is missing when we hear the world say resilience. The word is so overused now that it's getting on my nerves sometimes. It has become almost a cliche. And you know, when things become cliche, we stop listening. So I'm so glad that you're here this afternoon, because I want you, anytime you hear this word resilience, I want you to go back to the scale. Risk factors and protective factors, that combination, that thought process, that's what leads to me being more resilient. Look with Dr. Covey. Look at the way Stephen Covey thinks about resilience. Can you read that definition? Yes. Rescript it, y'all. I know that's not proper grammar, but that's how we say it down here in North Carolina. Rescript it, y'all. Rescript it, Nefertiti. Rescript it, Nefertiti. And I'm talking to myself right now because I've never had more parent guilt. I've never had more spouse guilt. I've never had more just feeling I'm not enough. It just some days I don't even have the energy to fully interface with life the way that I want. And I know what's going on because I know how to look at the scale and I know how to fix it. But I'm asking you today to open up to a conversation with me about this. Know where your weight is. And Nefertiti, what about the weight that feels so big? Thank you for asking, because environmentally, we are all dealing with things that feel very, very heavy. Some of you in your family, you have things that happen to you and your dad and your grandfather, and you still feel it in your family now. You've got some work to do. And then there's somebody on the webinar today from the outside, so you feel like people think you've got it all together. People think you have it all together, but they do not know right now how low your sense of self-worth is, how your self-esteem has been impacted lately, how depressed you have been feeling. They don't know. But I'm asking you today to recognize that as a weight on your risk factor side. And not today's webinar alone, but maybe this is the start. You work on losing the weight over there. You work on that. And in the meantime, you build the muscle on the other side. So you're losing some weight and you're building some muscle. You lose some weight, you build some muscle. That's what it means to build your bounce. And I'm so glad we can share this safe space this afternoon to think about this. When you have an opportunity, I would like to ask that you visit our website. And I want you to go grab this tool right here. And I want you to give it to every adult that you know, love, care for, appreciate. Give it to strangers even. No. Yes, I really mean that, but you got to be careful who you give it to. This tool is called the Devereaux Adult Resilience Survey. If you want to think about where your current protective factors are, this is a good place to start. Now, come here, guys. I got something to tell you. Come here. If you're dating, if you're in a new relationship, you met somebody online and now you're starting to date safely, I want you to take this JARS on your next date. Did I make you smile? I hope I made you smile. But I'm really serious. So I said this once to a woman in St. Louis. I was training St. Louis, it was 10 to 20 years ago. And I walked past her desk and she was doing like this. I said, what you doing? She said, I'm taking a picture of the JARS. You told me that I should ask these questions on the date, and I'm going on a date tonight, and I'm going to ask these questions, but I didn't want to bring the paper. I'm going to ask the questions from my phone. I think that's a good way to do it. The JARS will help you think about your current protective factors, all right? So listen, this is how it's divided. The research says we need relationships, all right? Just hear me for a second. The research says we cannot live this life by ourselves, and we by ourselves, and we need a few peeps in our life, okay? We need relationships. The literature also says that you and I have to have a strong sense of internal beliefs. We need to like and love and appreciate the person that looks back at us in the mirror. That's internal beliefs. We need initiative, and we need self-control. Can we talk about them individually? And I want to give you a tip to try until I can see you again. Let's do it together, all right? Before we go too far, let me check out the chat box, make sure. Yes, Angelica. See, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes. Oh, Laura, this is yes. It's interesting. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, everybody seems okay. Miss LaDonna, you want my umbrella, don't you? Yes, yes. And there was actually somebody in this chat box that said, Nefertiti, when you talk about the rain, you make it seem like it's bad. And I really appreciated that person's comment. I don't look at rain as bad. I know it's necessary, but I don't go outside and just walk in the rain. Like, I'm going to get me an umbrella. And that's what I'm thinking about life. Get your umbrella. Let the rain nurture what has to nurture and grow where it has to grow. But I'm going to get me an umbrella. That's resilience to me. All right, let's look at it together. Let's do it together. First things first, I want to talk about this protective factor called relationships. So just read that definition, please. And when you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my notes to see how far behind I am in time. All right. So this protective factor was the first thing I saw when we were looking at the research. And this one scared me because I am an introvert. So I need to know if I'm alone. Introverts, let's unite in the chat box. If you love to be around people, but you love to be away from people, say you're not alone in the chat box. Come to the chat box and say, tell me I'm not by myself. I love people, but I love to be by myself too. I think I like that more. Tell me, okay, good. Introverts, we eat in our car for lunch. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. Don't come knock on our window. No, I don't want no company. Yes, yes. So this protective factor scared me because I was saying to myself, do I need to have more friends? Because I don't want more friends. I'm okay. I'm okay. So introverts, this will be good for all of us. The research says you don't need a whole lot of friends. What the research says we do need are people who can look at us and know that you're not okay. You don't have to say a lot, but they can look at you and know that you're not okay. And when life starts to stretch you, that's another way to think about resilience. When life starts to stretch you, your friendships, your relationships are what you use to bounce back, right? So let's look at the behaviors that you want to carry out as you think about relationships. Look at those 5, please. Okay. It took a lot for you to get here this afternoon. And I don't want you to do anything the same way that you did before you got on here. Maybe there's 1 or 2 things you can take from our webinar this afternoon. Is there anything you need to do to better nurture your relationships? If it's nothing, maybe a first step is just stop calling them relationships alone and call your relationships your protective factors. Acknowledge them, give them some weight. Call your protective factors your relationships. Do you have good friends that support you? Do you have a mentor? The research says we all need a mentor. Are you providing support to others? Are you empathetic? Do you trust? Do you trust? I know there's at least 6 people on the webinar today. You are having a very hard time building relationships with others because your trust has been violated over and over and over. And you're not willing to do it again. Listen to me when I tell you, you can stay there if that's your choice, but I want you to think of these 5 behaviors as protective factors. And if you want to get on that side of building greater bounce, it might be time to put in the work to heal your trust. Not today alone, but maybe just this was a reminder that today I'm going to use my tools because I think of these as your tools, and I'm going to do some things differently. Now, Today, I wanted to give you an idea of a strategy to try. You want to hear this strategy? This morning on the news, they were talking about people who are taking more antidepressant medication. And one of the reasons that there's a greater increase in it is because people are feeling lonely and isolated. And so what I'm asking you today, team, whether it be 1 or 2 or 3 or 33, I want you to celebrate your friendships. I want you to stop saying, oh, I didn't have time to call him. I'm going to call him when I get home. Stop doing that. Celebrate your friendships right now. And if for any reason in your neck of the woods, things still seem unsafe, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to get your phone out, and I want you to schedule some virtual days with your friends and your family. Can I give you an example? I am a mom of a 16-year-old and a 6-year-old. Both of my girls are at-home learners. So I cannot talk during the day because I'm working, I'm nurturing their well-being. At night, I try to wind us down so everybody can get a good night's sleep. And sometimes I just don't have time to get to the phone. So if you want to call me, if we gonna talk, I gotta put it on my calendar. So here's what I did last week, and I'm telling you, I felt so much better. I have friends that I can count on this one hand alone. And each of them, we scheduled a virtual lunch date. A virtual lunch date. It was so cool. We got on our iPads. We were talking. They got to see my children. It was just great. I got to see their children. It was great. And one of them I had with my college girlfriend who on Sundays, we used to cook together. That was our thing. She brought a rotisserie chicken from the supermarket. I made some kind of box cake. So we talked about how we would do that every Sunday. And we promised each other that we were going to talk as often as we could on Sundays. Here is what life has taught me, team. Can you read that? There's somebody on the webinar who, that person that you love, you thought it was just a cold. And then they got a fever. And then they had to go to the hospital. And then because they were diagnosed with COVID-19, you couldn't see them. You could only talk to them through a FaceTime conversation. Here's what I'm asking you to do today. Treat everybody you love and care for like it's the last time you're going to see them. There's an Alicia Keys song that has that same title. If you need to say, I apologize, say, I apologize. If you're thinking about her, just text her. If you want to see her, call her. And stop saying you're too busy. You're not too busy. You just haven't set it as a priority today. And I'm asking you today to think about your resilience because that's what you came to learn. Nefertiti, what's one of the strategies you want me to think about with you? Spend some time with your peeps. Spend more time with the people that matter to you and stop waiting. If COVID-19 hasn't taught me anything, it taught me that life is fleeting. So let's love on each other a little bit more. All right? So I'm asking you today, think about these as your tools. This is your umbrella. These are your umbrellas. Do you have to do anything differently? Which one of these 5 do you consider your strength? And which one do you want to work on? Can you just think about that before we move on? I was talking to one of my neighbors yesterday, and we're Facebook friends, and I put something on my Facebook page, and she made a comment, and she said, today I'm not okay. And I emailed her back and said, it's okay. I Facebooked her back and said, it's okay not to be okay. So she came down, and her father's recently passed away, and out of nowhere, just thinking about him, she started crying, and she was apologizing. She was like, Nefertiti, I said, you don't have to apologize. I know it. I get it. I lost my brother and my dad within 6 months. I get it. But what my brother's passing and what my dad's passing has taught me, we all gonna leave here. Every single one of us. It's how you treat each other before we say goodbye that matters the most. You ain't going to be able to say the things you want to say if they're no longer here. So say it right now. And that's all I'm going to say before I start crying and mess up my freshly applied mascara. Your relationships are your protective factor. They're one of your protective factors. What else do you have? You have internal beliefs. Read that definition with me, please. All right. When you go to our website and you download a copy of the DARS, because you have one in today's handout, but I really want you to go get it. If you're listening to me today and your team is with you, give it to every member of your team. If you're supporting families, I want you to give this tool to your families. Let's do this together. Healthy village, healthy children. We need to work on our internal beliefs. Well, I'm going to say Nefertiti, you need to work on your internal beliefs. Can you read those 6 behaviors? The DARS items say yes, they say sometimes, or they say not yet. You notice how the answer is not a no. There's no no, it just says not yet. All right? And so today I want to practice with just one thing and to give you a strategy to think about until I can see you again. What about being hopeful? What about being hopeful? Sometimes I listen to my own self-talk, I listen to my self-talk. And it becomes very clear to me how sometimes it's not easy to do any of this stuff. Just again, with everything that's going on in my community right now, I'm asking you to be hopeful, and I'm asking myself to be hopeful. Like Nefertiti, really? Hope? Yes, because here's what I'm learning from the research. I have a choice. I can ruminate over what is going on and allow it to take me to a place of non-productivity, or I can be thankful for the day that I have today and use that energy to fight the fight. And that's what I'm choosing to do today. I want, like all of us, to practice a little more gratitude as we work on building our bounce. Not Nefertiti saying it, but it's very well documented in the research that a sense of gratitude is a protective factor. This whole thing called coronavirus, last year, didn't you think coronavirus was a dream, and then you were going to wake up and tell somebody you had a dream about this thing called coronavirus, and the dream is still here, and doggone it, it then turned into a nightmare, right? Here's what you have to say to coronavirus. Find another way. Find another way. We say coronavirus, not today. You have to say not today to everything. Whatever that thing is that's trying to get in your way of your internal beliefs, you got to take it away. So here's what the suggestion is for today. Gratitude is a way of stopping anything that's getting in the way of you being your best right now. And did you know, this research is always so profound to me. The brain has a negativity bias. You wake up in the morning, your brain's total responsibility is to keep you safe. That's the brain's responsibility. So the brain is not going around thinking about, oh, what a beautiful flower. Oh, isn't that a great tree? That's where you come in. You can say to the brain, all right, brain, it's Tuesday. Keep me safe, but I'm also going to practice some gratitude. Team members, the research is so compelling around what can happen when you and I lean on our gratitude. Stronger immune systems, less pain, lowers your blood pressure. You find yourself just in a better mood if you can just pause and be grateful. More joy, more happiness, more optimism. I so believe, and there is some research to support this as well, if we were more grateful for one another, I think things would be different society-wise. If we were just more grateful for one another, no matter how different we are, alike we are, what would that be society like in society? And then look at this. I always want to lean on being that person, the optimistic person. You know, but if you're too optimistic, people will give you the shut up look. Yeah, they'll give you the shut up look. My mom wouldn't let me say shut up when I was growing up. You could only say be quiet. But I always tell people, sometimes I get a look from people that I train. It doesn't say be quiet. It says shut up. And my mom also told me that not everybody wants to be resilient. Yep, that's what my mom told me. She told me you can't talk to everybody about resilience. And you know what I told her? Yes, you can. She said you can. So one day I was leaving a technical assistant visit and I said to the receptionist, have a wonderful weekend. You know what she said to me? I heard it's going to rain all weekend long. I heard my mom in the back of my head say, Nefertiti, leave people alone. But I had to say something. And I said to her, and if we wake up to see that rain, won't it be amazing? She gave me the shut up look. So I went to put my stuff in my car and she said, ma'am, I said, see, Nefertiti, your mama told you to leave people alone. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, thank you. She just said, thank you. Try to lean on gratitude and be more optimistic. I know it doesn't change everything that we're dealing with, some things that are very hard, but you have a choice. You can ruminate about it and let it take you to a place of non-productivity, or you can be optimistic about things right now. Lean in on your gratitude, team, and see what happens. Lean in on your gratitude. Read that, please. And I have a challenge for you. My daughter watches all these YouTube challenges and she'll come to me like, Mama, I have a challenge. I have a challenge for you until I can see you again. Practice gratitude for the next week or so and tell me it didn't change your spirit. Go ahead and try it. Practice gratitude, whether it be going outside and doing something gratitude, writing it down, recording it on your phone. Practice gratitude and watch it doesn't change you just a little bit. Call me, email me, text me. Let's talk about it. All right. Internal beliefs is a protective factor. Which up here is your strength and which one do you work on? These are our tools. Internal beliefs.
Okay, team, we're going to pause it there and continue on with our presentation. Oops. Of course, it's going to start from where I don't want it to start. So let me just scurry on over. Excuse the quickness. What did you guys think of a little bit of that video? I know Dr. Nefertiti is fantabulous. I love her. I always reach out to her for any support. She is the best pick-me-up I have. So I reach out to her whenever I sort of, need that extra bounce to come along with me. And I will also be sharing the rest of the video if you would like at the end of this presentation.
Cool. That was awesome.
Yeah, oh, I'm so glad.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's fantastic. Yeah, she is just empathy, like resonates with her more than anyone I've ever known. So this is the timeline tentatively for our Build Your Bounce Promoting Adult Resilience. So it's currently divided into 4 sections, which we'll dive in deep throughout their time together later on in the summer. It is recommended to participate in each section in order. As you can see, section 1 will be in July, and it will talk a little bit more about what is resilience. The rest of the section date and time will be determined at a later time. There is mention of the tool that you heard called the DARS, the Devereux Adult Resilience Survey. This is a tool that is accessible on Devereux's website. However, I would recommend to hold off using this tool because we dedicate a whole section in part 3 to talk a little bit about the tool, how it's helpful, how you can use it for yourself, or how you can use it for somebody else. I would hate for anybody to walk here feeling bad or feeling they're not doing well or something in those categories. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper in that conversation. Lastly, any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email. And if you have any specific early childhood education question, please feel free to reach our email. Please check out our professional learning page for the upcoming training. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.